This is the eye wall, and this is where you get the highest winds. This one at top speeds of like 130 miles an hour. Here's a volcano venting steam. This is in the South Pacific near Indonesia. Volcanic crater, half underwater. These are all volcanic islands in that part of the world. And here you see the Himalaya mountains. And right at the center is Mount Everest, tallest mountain on planet Earth. And right there is the very top of Mount Everest. Now, I could stand up in front of you here this morning and tell you without lying, I have seen the top of Mount Everest with my own eyes about 25 times during my missions. I'm sensing you're not too impressed by that. I call the lazy man's way to see the top of Mount Everest, right? No climbing involved, just cruising overhead at 18,000 miles an hour as I drink my drink. But I use this picture to illustrate some of the things I got to see and do during my career. I've never climbed Mount Everest, never will in my lifetime, but I've seen the top of it many times. I've seen the Great Barrier Reef off Australia, the Amazon rainforest down in Brazil and South America. I've seen Mount Kilimanjaro, a big volcanic peak in Africa, poking up through the clouds. So many amazing sights on planet Earth. Here you see a sunrise from space. Because we go around the Earth every hour and a half, we see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every 24-hour day. And they're all spectacular. I would try to catch as many of these as I could when I was in space. At the end of the mission then, it's time for us to come home. We fired 2 engines in the tail of the shuttle. We just slow our speed like from 17,500 miles an hour down to 17,000 miles an hour. And it sounds like we're going fast, but at that speed, gravity takes over and we would begin our fall back to Earth. And 55 minutes later or so, we would end up landing right back here at the Kennedy Space Center, touching down on a nice long runway just a few miles from where we are right now. We would deploy this drag parachute on the back to help slow us down, and then we put the brakes on and just roll to a stop. And then we just sit and wait for them to come and open the hatch. And typically it would take them an hour or so before they'd open the hatch. When you first come back from space, you feel like you weigh about 2,000 pounds. Because you've been floating around weightless for 2 weeks, and then suddenly you come back to this pull at gravity. Just a normal pull we feel in here today, but it felt so heavy for me. My arms were heavy, my legs were heavy, I was a little dizzy when I got back. And it took a day or so for that dizziness to go away. Maybe 3 or 4 days to get your muscle strength back, and then you're pretty much back to normal. So this picture was taken 2 hours after I landed on my first flight. That's me right here. And this is Bob Cabana, my commander, who's the center director here at the Kennedy Space Center. And after we took this picture, I remember turning around and I looked up at the word Columbia, and I was just staring back at my space shuttle. And I thought to myself, what an amazing vehicle the space shuttle is. You know, this was my house in space for 2 weeks. This thing protected me from that firing re-entry coming in through the atmosphere. And then one of the next thoughts that popped into my head was, I gotta do this again. Have you ever gone on a great roller coaster, maybe in Orlando, you get off the ride, you run around the back of the line and do it again immediately? Anybody else do that? I do that all the time, and that's exactly